이보다 더 어울리는 노래가 있었을까요? The Manhattan Transfer의 Java Jive 듣고 왔습니다. 자, 오늘은 세계적인 바리스타 데일 해리스 씨와 커피 이야기 나누고 있는데요. So let's go back to the story on the championship last year, 2017. But was it the first time for you to attend such a championship?
So it was my first time at the World Championship, but to have a place there, you have to win your national competition.
Oh,
And for me, this was the ninth year that I had competed. I had,
ninth year.
yeah, so I was very persistent. Every year, I would come back with a different idea, and I've been pretty successful. So there are maybe 100 competitors each year in the UK.
Wow.
It's a big competition, and for a few years I came second. I was very close, but I
Yes.
couldn't quite do it. And then finally, and it felt very much like the last year I would compete because I was. I felt that I had come to the end of that journey, so it was my last. I was enjoying the last time to do it, and it just seemed that I was lucky, and we kind of got there in the end.
You know what happens right at that moment when you're just about to think that, okay, then maybe this will be my last time, and
Yeah.
then it comes.
Yeah.
You said that you were talking about creation. So what do they do at these championships? I guess people like me don't really know what happens in those kind of championships.
Well, so it's a very strange mix of it's a little bit of a gymnastics routine because you're building a 15-minute service session,
Okay.
and you will serve four judges, and over the 15 minutes you have to serve each of them an espresso, a milk drink like a cappuccino,
Yes.
and then a drink of your own creation, so a signature drink. And all three have to work together to help you tell a story about coffee.
Okay, how do you tell a story with drinks?
Well, there's also a presentation, so you get scored a little bit on the way you present them and the information you give. But the truth is, part of what makes a coffee incredible is just the way it tastes.
Yes.
It can be inherently good and interesting and exciting. But then there's why does it taste that way? And you're trying to communicate what led to those flavors. So often we'll be talking about the producer who produced the coffee and maybe the area that it came from and the specific techniques that had been used in maybe the growing, but also the roasting, the way the coffee was processed. So all the steps that got there. And as a barista, often your job is to represent all those steps because you're the only person who gets to talk to the customer. The
I
farmer
see.
is, 5,000
yeah.
miles away. So,
So it's not only the flavor, but it's actually the whole package.
yeah. And when we enjoy things, it's always the whole package. It's not just whether we like the song, but it's whether we like the musician as well.
Yes. And the history, and then the atmosphere,
Exactly.
the storytelling, and then I guess the presentation of how the drinks look like would also.
Yeah. So, and the judges are scoring you based on taste. That's the most important part, but also how well you described it. Technically, how tidy you were in the way you were making drinks, and they're watching all of that. So there are other judges being aware of this. And they're also looking for, positive messages about coffee and ambassadorship and things like that.
이런 챔피언십에서 도대체 무엇을 가지고 평가를 하나 궁금했는데요. 얘기를 들어보니까 세 잔의 커피를 만들어야 된대요. So you have four judges?
Yes.
네, 네 명의 심사위원이 있는데 그 앞에 이제 한 명당 세 잔씩 만들어야 되는데 하나는 에스프레소를 하나 만들어야 되고요. 또 하나는 우유가 들어간 거 with milk. 또 하나는 이제 직접 만든 creation을 이렇게 세 잔을 내놓으면서 여기에 왜 이런 것들을 만들었고 또 그 스토리를 쭉 얘기할 수 있는 여러 가지가 이제 평가 요인에 포함이 된다고 합니다. So last year we know that you won. You got, I guess, a special point with your creation, and it was a cold brew.
So yeah, it was a drink based on some of the flavors in the coffee, but very particular ones that you wouldn't taste in the normal espresso method. So the espresso tasted one way, with milk it tasted another way, and then we highlighted some of the other flavors. And that involved us, because the competition requires you to make it with espresso. I
Yes.
brewed espresso and had to cool it very quickly over ice, add a few other ingredients, some interesting ingredients. So we separated the whey, which is one of the proteins in milk. We separated that to add a more buttery texture.
Ooh.
Then we found cacao nibs that I fermented with a sourdough culture, so to give it a real deep, rich, and natural kind of chocolatey sweetness. We combined those ingredients together, and then the most important part was we charged it with nitrogen, which gives it that great creamy feel. So
Yes.
it becomes, rather than just a watery coffee drink, it becomes a long, creamy sensation when you drink it. And
So that's why it was called a nitro cold brew.
yeah, and from that we've done a lot of work. So I'm here in Seoul working with Edia, and we're working on a nitro product here as well. So it's slightly different, but using some of those techniques to make a really sweet cup of coffee.
I see. So with all the beans, you just don't use one single kind of bean. You try to combine it with, like as you say, cacao nibs and
So
other
for the
other
signature
things.
drink,
Yes.
you're adding other things, but it has to relate to the coffee you're using or the flavors in the coffee you're using.
I
So
see.
so in the competition for all the coffees I made, I used one coffee, but it wasn't just from one country. It was from one small area of a very small farm in El Salvador, and it was one variety.
Oh.
So it's a variety called SL28, which normally grows in Kenya. But the farmer Ernesto, who I've worked with for a long time, had planted these Kenyan trees at a particular part of the farm, so to really generate the best flavors of coffee from El Salvador and the best flavors of coffee from Kenya in one cup.
Wow. Well, just listening to your story, it just gives me a feeling that it is, or perhaps more complicated than how wine is harvested. It's just a single or just a few types of grapes, and that's it. But you're talking about so many different places and so many different types of things combined together.
Well, I
Wow.
think the biggest challenge between coffee and wine is with wine, the wine producer, because they have as many challenges and as many kind of obstacles and choices, but the wine producer can make exactly what they want in the bottle.
Yes.
And they can send bottles to Korea, to Australia, to France, and
yeah.
it will always taste the same when you open the bottle. With coffee, the producer can do all that work, but then they're reliant on the barista or the person at home brewing it well to generate the flavors.
I see. Just before,
Right before you taste
just
it.
before consumption, that's when the difference comes.
Yeah.
I see. Then what are the key elements that actually bring about those small changes in the taste of coffee? First of all, of course, would be the beans,
Yeah.
the ingredients.
Yeah.
But are there other elements that can actually change?
Absolutely. I think, it's regardless of everything else you do, the better the quality of ingredient, the higher the chance you'll have good
Yes.
results. But most of it comes down to controlling the extraction.
Oh,
So extraction is what we call when we remove the flavor from the bean and put it in the water in the
Yes.
beverage. And the grind size, so the size of the particles, controls how fast that flavor change happens. If it happens too slowly, you will only pick out some of the not very tasty elements.
Okay.
So flavors that are sour or bitter. And a lot of coffee that you buy, or if you brew it too quickly, it will taste like that. And you don't need to be an expert. Everybody notices that it tastes a little bit not
okay.
great.
I see. So we know when it's not that tasty.
Yes, yeah. It's different to preference. It is there is an objective that was badly brewed. The next one is freshness. So being able to grind the coffee right before you brew it makes a huge difference, because as soon as the coffee is exposed to oxygen, the
Yes.
flavors slow down and degrade. So we want fresh coffee, we want it ground fresh, and we want it ground to the right size, and then we want control over the brewing time. With espresso, brewing happens very fast and under lots of pressure, which is why we have the big machines to do it.
Yes.
And that gives you lots of control, but it gives a very exaggerated, strong cup. For other brewing methods, if you're looking at pour over, I know that one of the guys
Yes.
is making a pour over in the studio.
Yeah.
With
We're
a
trying
pour
to
over.
imitate that. With our devices, we're only calling it imitations.
Yeah, no, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I brew coffee at home, and then you're looking for 3 or 4 minutes of brewing. The top tip, which will sound crazy, is for making the best coffee is to use a set of kitchen scales.
Kitchen scales.
So to weigh how much coffee you're using, how much water you're using, it's just like baking a cake. If you have that little bit more control, you can replicate the result. So if you don't like the cup of coffee you made, you can change a little bit of that recipe
I
and,
see.
and improve it time over
Yes.
time.
So there are recipes that you can actually implement over
Yes.
here. How about the temperature of water? As
Yeah.
long as it's boiling, is it all the same? Or, because I know for tea, they say you don't, maybe the boiling temperature is not the best, maybe
Yeah.
slightly
Yes,
less
slightly
than
off.
that.
So I mean, it always depends on the product. With tea, white teas and some green teas, like really low temperatures.
Yes.
So maybe even as low as 40 degrees, some green teas. With coffee, you're almost always going to be in the early 90s.
Yes.
So boil your kettle, then grind your coffee and get it ready, and then pour the water on. Give it that minute or so after boiling for it just to cool down. The higher the temperature, the faster it's going to pull flavor from the coffee. So the higher your extraction. But if it's a little bit too hot, it will pull things that we don't want out
I
of the coffee.
see. 야, 커피의 세계가 이렇게 복잡합니다, 여러분. 옛날처럼 이렇게 백 몇십 원 자판기에 넣어가지고 그 믹스 커피가 나왔던 그런 시대는 어디 갔나요? 네, 그때 시기가 아니라 정말 이 커피라는 세계가 원료 그리고 그 그라인드를 얼마만큼 굵기로 하느냐, 그리고 언제 하느냐, 그 신선도, 그리고 또 물의 온도, 이런 모든 것들을 보아하니까 레시피처럼 적어 놓을 수가 있다고 해요. 그래서 그 무게, 그 양에 따라서 맛도 상당히 달라질 수 있다는 이야기를 우리가 지금 세계에서 가장 유명한 바리스타 분에게서 듣고 있습니다. And also, these days at coffee shops, I see the word cold brew.
Yeah.
And which means that not that high degree temperature of water is used. It's actually they're using cold water, but it's taking a lot of time. Just, one drip, maybe in a few seconds or something. So what is the difference between a cold brew and an average a normally brewed coffee, apart from the temperature?
Yeah.
What other differences can we expect?
Well, so first of all, I think about what temperature is doing. So temperature speeds up reactions. It's just like in high school chemistry.
Yeah.
The hotter it is, the faster everything happens. So when you brew with cold temperatures, maybe at room temperature or even below, all of the extraction is going to happen very, very slowly, and that will change what chemicals can be drawn from the coffee. So it doesn't change the basic chemistry of it, but it will exaggerate or emphasize certain flavors from a coffee. And when cold brew is done very slowly and with lots of care, you will tend to emphasize the mouthfeel of the coffee, so the way it feels in your mouth, how smooth it is. You may emphasize some of the more chocolatey flavors, so some deep sweetness.
Yes.
But you'll lose some of the acidity and some of the vibrancy you'll get from a hot extraction.
So maybe from a cold brew, you can expect more creamy kind of texture and flavors.
Yeah,
I guess.
absolutely. And it becomes something that is a little more lasting on the palate. So it's a long, gentle flavor. It's not better. It's a different style.
Yeah.
But what it is it's much more easy to control this kind of brewing. So if you need to make lots of coffee, you can control the brewing so you can deliver the same cup every single time.
네. 요즘 한참 커피숍들에 많이 가면 이렇게 콜드 브루라고 해서 많이 나오잖아요. 뭐 제품들도 많이 나오고 있는데 확실히 차이가 있네요. 이렇게 뜨거운 물로 만드는 커피하고 이렇게 콜드 브루 방식으로 만드는 커피에는 아마 같은 커피 콩이라고 하더라도 나오는 플레이버가 조금은 다른 것 같습니다. 자, 오늘은 바리스타 데일 해리스 씨와 이야기를 나누고 있는데요. 이쯤에서 여러분들에게 드리는 퀴즈 질문을 한 번 더 반복해서 알려드리겠습니다. Once again, I would like to remind our listeners of the quiz question. Which is not a method used for making coffee? 네, 1번 brewing, 2번 hand dripping, 3번은 cuddling입니다. 정답을 알고 계신다면 짧은 문자는 50원, 긴 문자는 100원인 샵 1045번으로 보내주시고요. 아니면 저희 반디 게시판이나 카카오톡 플러스를 통해서 보내주셔도 되겠습니다. 오늘은 저희가 아주 통 크게 10분께 이디야 모바일 상품권 3만 원권과 이디야 커피 비니스트 라떼 2종 세트를 저희가 함께 드리도록 하겠습니다. 자, 이쯤에서 노래 한 곡 듣고 계속해서 이야기 나눠볼게요. This is Gregory Porter, Don't Lose Your Steam. 네, 이렇게 커피와 연관된 노래를 찾기도 쉽지 않았는데, 네, Gregory Porter의 Don't Lose Your Steam 듣고 오셨습니다. Well, there are so many types, different types of coffee. And which one is your favorite? Because there's, there's this espresso and there's this widely loved Americano, which is like espresso with more
water,
water.
yeah.
And we also have lattes and cappuccinos, and we have like
The problem is this like asking me to choose which is my favorite child.
that's true.
I can't
I
I
know.
can't pick just one because for different situations I want different things. I know that the most popular drink in Korea is the Americano. And I find that really strange, at first because for me, my favorite way to drink coffee is black coffee, but I like drip coffee.
Yeah.
I don't want the espresso with water. But as I spend a little more time here and taste a few more coffees, I think that often the way the coffee is roasted and being brewed actually really what suits that drink very well.
Yeah.
I can see why most people are drinking it, and it's fast and it's convenient. My competition and my
Yes.
success has mostly come from espresso and espresso based drinks, but I don't enjoy drinking espresso that much. Maybe one or two now and again, but it is not my go-to drink. So when I first go to a cafe, normally I like a milk drink because they're soft and I can enjoy it and I can sit there
Yes.
with some friends, or brewed coffee. And I love brewed coffee because it's so simple, but there can be so many different flavors based on, where the coffee's come from, but also the way it's been brewed. And as it cools, it changes. And for me, I love drinking some coffee and, typing an email, doing some work,
Yeah.
talking to someone. And then when you take another sip and just noticing how those flavors change, sometimes being surprised, I find that incredible still. So.
I see. Then, you are still very active as a professional barista. When you use the word barista, does that mean that you have to come up with your own creation? Or as long as you know how to make different types of coffee, or if you know how to make coffee, you can just call yourself a barista?
I think, there's no kind of international standard, and
Yes.
lots of people feel different ways about it. For me, a truly great barista is, it's less about the coffee making. They should have a solid understanding of how to make coffee and almost be able to make any of the combinations of drinks, because there are lots of, you have steamed milk and you have espresso, but there are lots of combinations of those in different cultures, and you should have a good understanding of those so that you can make something if a customer asks. But really, I think the skill is more service, more understanding customers, and being able to present coffee well to new people or experienced people, being able to read that customer and see,
Yeah.
what is it they need today? How do I look after them well today and still serve them the best coffee I can?
So not only the coffee, but the whole coffee experience is what a barista needs to prepare.
Yeah, I think experience it encompasses it all. So in a perfect shop for me, a perfect experience for me would be where every single step once I go through that door, the barista's thought about it and is all designed around me having a really good coffee experience, a really positive one.
So where do we have to go if we want to experience your coffee and your service? Do you have a shop or?
So actually, I don't have a shop. Sometimes I run small pop-ups for little events, and always because that way I can play. I
Yes.
don't need to be tied down to the way we put the machine or whatever. So at the moment you can't. It's a secret, but
Yeah.
working with Edia, doing a few events here, and the same all across the world. So I'm in a great position now. I get to travel a lot, so I'm getting to make coffee for lots of different people and have more conversations about it, but also tasting coffee. So I get to visit, 3 or 4 cafes wherever I go and taste, some different ideas of what good coffee is. And actually, I don't think there are right answers. I think the conversation is the valuable bit. You know, I'm still learning along with all the people I'm meeting. So
I see. But apart from coffee, is there other things that, you have your interests in? Maybe perhaps wine or tea or, gourmet food or...
so actually my personal passion is I love baking.
Oh,
Particularly bread. So I make sourdough bread at home. It takes a while. So when I'm traveling, it's hard because you need the time a few days at home
yes.
to do it right. But I love baking bread. I like patisserie and pastries and learning some of those skills. I'm not very good, but I really enjoy learning about the ingredients and the techniques.
Oh.
So before I flew out, I made some lemon tarts, making some sweet pastry and curd fillings and things like that.
Oh, I see. Then maybe we'll be able to, taste some of that side of your creation someday.
I hope so one day.
Okay, well, that's about all the time that we have today. Thank you very much for coming to our show today and
It's a
sharing your
real honor
experience.
for me. Thank you
I
for
think it's a
having
great.
me.
It was a great honor from our side, and I know that there are a lot of people out there, Korean people, the teenagers, and people who dream to become baristas. So, if you have any words of advice for them, what would you like to say?
So I think it maybe applies to almost anything you might want to do as well, which is, if it's something you're passionate about, read as much as you can, talk to as many people as you can. Eventually you find your own opinions and your own ideas, but having all those nutrients, all those ideas coming into you helps shape your vision, helps shape your ideas, but also there's so much to learn. So keep doing the research, find out as much as you can, study, and you will get as far as you want to go.
네. 자, 우리가 이게 커피 바리스타라고 해서 뭔가 기술적인 면만 이야기를 하게 될 줄 알았더니요. 기술이 아니라 그 사람과 교감하는 그런 경험이 더 중요하다라는 이야기를 많이 나누게 된 것 같습니다. 자, I really enjoyed the conversation that we had today. And before you go, I think we'll have to give out the answer to the quiz question. 자, 퀴즈의 정답을 알려드려야겠죠? 오늘의 퀴즈는 which is not a method used for making coffee였습니다. And Dale, do you know the answer?
Unfortunately, it's the most fun one.
Yes.
Cuddling is not a way to make coffee, but
네.
it's a good thing.
정답은 3번, 네, cuddling 하는 방법으로는 커피를 만들 수가 없다네요. 네, 정답 맞춰주신 분들께 저희가 그중 10분을 추첨해서 이디야 모바일 상품권 3만 원권과 이디야 커피 비니스트 라떼 2종 세트를 드리도록 하겠습니다. 어떤 분들이 받으셨는지는 저희 인터넷 게시판을 확인해 주시기 바랍니다. So once again, I wish you all the best and hope to see you back again in Korea with more creations in the future.
감사합니다.
Yes, thank you very much. Bye-bye. 자, 이제 이분 보내드려야겠죠? 보내드리면서 노래 한 곡 띄워드리겠습니다. This is Rita Ora, I Will Never Let You Down.